Hey, Chris Manning here with my co-host Evan Dammarell on the Locked On Cavs podcast. Maybe you're watching us on YouTube, maybe you're listening in on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get podcasts. On today's show, we are going to talk about Larry Nance and his goodbye letter of sorts, and we're going to talk about Kevin Love as we continue the fallout / the future development / whatever you want to call it from the Lauri Markkanen acquisition from the end of last week. Go check out our episode on that if you haven't already. Today's show is also brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, people? I'm Chris Manning. He's Evan Dammarell. Evan Dammarell. I said his name correctly that time. Evan, what's up, buddy?
Third time's the charm, I guess. Not a whole lot, man. It's a nice, easy Sunday afternoon or evening, I guess, at this point. I don't know what I'm saying. Time is relative, but I'm good. How was your weekend?
Good. We got some needed rain in the Northeast Ohio area.
I was at Trader Joe's and I was trying to beat the rain, and I'm like looking overhead and I'm like thinking of Kid Cudi where he says, "Gray clouds, gray sky up above, man. Metaphor to my life, man." Because only Scott Mescudi could rhyme man and man together, much like Lil Dicky could write right and right.
That was a very certain era of "I'm from Cleveland" sentence you just said.
That album is incredibly influential to my life, so I will never say anything bad about Man on the Moon.
No, I won't either, but it also just means you were 100% like a sad teenager at a certain point in 2010s.
I'm like Scott Mescudi gets me in Wandsworth, Ohio, living in rural Ohio. I'm like, yeah, I'm sad too. It's gray all the time.
Yeah, that's when you know it's a very specific experience that I may or may not also share. Seen him in concert 4 times because why not? But anyway,
dude, the first time I saw him live was at Bowling Green. My friend's sister was a student at Bowling Green and got us in. We were the only 17-year-olds there, and my dad had a no pot policy when we were growing up.
Well, I would think he would, Evan.
He softened his stance with my brother. So we reeked of marijuana on the way back, and I had my friend roll down his car. We were literally flying down the highway at 1 a.m. I'm hanging out the window trying to air myself out. Cause I'm if my dad thinks I smell like pot, he's gonna drug test me. And what if I, this is back when suburban Ohio taught you that if you had secondhand smoke from marijuana, you would get high from it, and also it would come up as a positive test. So I was paranoid. So what was your question?
No, I'm just going to say what you're telling me is that you've been calling me the Joker and rolling with the Joker. You're actually the Joker because you're hanging your head out the window.
Some men just like to watch the world burn with rubies the size of tangerines. You know what I'm saying?
Let's move on. Let's talk about Larry Nance. We'll talk about Kevin Love in the last 2 segments. Obviously, his agent, Jeff Schwartz, told Woj that he's doesn't want to do a buyout, has no interest. So we'll see
on that too.
Well, Evan, I think anyone with a brain can think through what is going on there and not take that at face value. So we'll get into that later. But the Larry Nance of it all. So obviously he penned an open letter through Cleveland.com over the weekend. Basically, I think the only really notable thing, I saw someone aggregated it and was like, wow, Larry Nance gave a warning to the rest of the Eastern Conference that the Cavs young core 6 or whatever is a problem. And I was like, okay, let's relax. This is him. He's being nice on the way out of town. Good for him. But the notable thing is that he called it a collaborative effort in finding this trade, and that's not really surprising. I think there was rumblings of that. I don't want to say that you and I had that. If we had that well confirmed enough, we would have reported it. So I'm not going to sit here and claim that we 100% knew that was a thing. But I think what we can no, but I think it is interesting that Larry went there, and people. I think one of the discussion points coming out of this has been, this is a guy that was tweeting about never trade me, wants to retire here, all this stuff, and that change. And I think that has been a discussion point of people kind of thinking about the Larry Nance era. Larry Nance Jr. era, we should say.
Yeah, I think him penning that letter, first off, it's really funny that he did it through a certain somebody at Cleveland.com.
Well, let's only good vibes. Let's only do good vibes here.
I'm the Joker, baby.
Well, the only thing that I was like, Larry, this isn't too long for an Instagram post. You just have to do the notes post or like split it up over multiple posts. Yeah. It's not that hard.
You want to know how I got these scars? By Larry Nance Jr. coming out and saying that this was a collaborative effort on his part with the Cavs, where he more or less said, yeah, I think and it's what I said in my piece for Right Down Euclid. Like, I got the impression from why the Cavs are kind of open to trading him is Larry is 28. He's our age, Chris, and the last time he played meaningful basketball, like truly meaningful basketball, was in 2018 when he reached the finals in his first year.
And specifically, that is the one time in his career he has ever played like me. Aside from he had the last Kobe season, and was around for that, but like that wasn't like a really
playoff
good team. The only time he has played like deep into the playoffs was 2018 with LeBron James, and that was like half a season worth of basketball.
Yep, and that's pretty much all he had. And you get that little taste of it, and you want to get more and more of it. Like, partially why Kevin Love's a little frustrated with the situation, why he wants out, but that's just a different beast that we'll unpack in the upcoming segments. But I think it's fair of Larry to openly say, like, hey, before this gets too far ahead, I'm the one who asked to be traded, because there are also certain members of the media who could use this as like a negativity shot at the Cavs and say like, oh, this guy who's loyal to the city and loves it here, and like you said, would tweet. He quote tweeted me using the clip from Wolf of Wall Street saying I'm not going anywhere, and I think that's still the incorrect use of the clip. But
well, it's also just like notable that movie's about like committing financial crime. Like, this is also like the thing. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but sometimes the Cavs play like the speech at the wall from Game of Thrones from Sir Alistair, and like that guy sucks. And I'm like, you understand that this guy's actually really bad, right? Like I don't know if they've understood like the context of this isn't exactly like great.
Yeah, no. Wolf of Wall Street's a good example of like frat bros thinking they're like really like they see a really good movie and they think they're super deep for watching a movie. It's like when high school Evan or early college Evan rather saw Inception for the first time and thought it was like the greatest movie ever made. It's really not that deep. It's really not that good a flick. But jumping back here, Larry did the Cavs a huge favor too, because this could have evolved rapidly into a PR nightmare over the weekend if he didn't pen this letter through Cleveland.com, because the general consensus from fans was, what the hell's going on here? Like, you traded, like I just said, you traded this guy who gets what it means to be a Cleveland fan, what it means to be a Clevelander, and you just send him to Portland, and you bring back this guy in Lauri Markkanen, who was on his way out of Chicago already. This might be viewed as an overpay by some. Like, it was kind of the perfect storm where everyone's just, yeah, we know you. A lot of people thought this is the perfect storm where the Cavs really goofed, and it may still not be the best trade. I still think the Cavs could have gotten a wing, and if they play Lowry at the wing, Chris Manning may say some bad words on here.
No, I won't. I'll analyze it and be even-handed about it, because that's what I do, and I don't really like have emotional attachment to the team anymore.
That's fair. Very, very, very zen of you. But it did the Cavs some favors too, because this could have been a PR nightmare for trading him, because it was not going over well. Fans in the news was first announced, and like even you and I were surprised. Like, we talked about how Larry's probably the team's best trade asset. And I even said full stop when we were recording the reaction podcast. I thought that the 2022 pick was more on the table than he was. And like, I've had folks who cover other teams reach out and say like, oh, hey, how available is Larry Nance Jr.? I'm like, every player on the Cavs are available for the right price, but I think Larry's a little bit higher on the totem pole just because of the significance he has off the court and also how useful he is to this team. But we did a really good podcast with Mike Rich at Locked On Blazers, and we talked a lot about how good he's going to be in Portland. I think he's going to be a lot better in Portland than he ever was in Cleveland, because they're going to ask him to do less, but he's able to do more because of it.
Yeah,
so
I think a lot of that.
It's a win for Larry, and him penning this letter was a win for the Cavs.
I guess the only thing that I don't think that really was like tampering like the frustration with the organization down. I don't think that is what is kind of going on here. I still think people don't quite like want to realize. I think there's going to be a very hard reality where we're going here with like the Cavs are still just in this very sort of interesting place. They have a lot of stuff they need to figure out, a lot of stuff they kind of need to kind of figure out where they're absolutely going to get to. And like this isn't a team that, in terms of like what Larry Nance seems to think about them, what I think Kevin Love thinks about them, what I think the general consensus on them seems to be, that this is not a team that is ready to go somewhere right now. Like, I think the general consensus is not that the Cavs are like headed somewhere significant in the immediate future. And like Larry, I think, kind of outlined, that was like really, to me, like, aside from the actual news of it, quote unquote, with the trade request, I think the other part of it is that he's just like, look, like, he spoke very highly of all those guys in glowing terms, and he's done that a lot. He's played good veteran in that sense, in a way that others have not. But I think that he also was like, look, like, we're not here. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time, and I would like to go win. And I'm going to go play with, like, and now he's playing with Damian Lillard, and Damian Lillard's really, really good. So
he's really, really good.
So it's just like that. That is where we're at, and I think the good vibes at some point will come back with Larry. Maybe he'll like come back after this contract if things work out. Like, I don't think the door is like closed by any stretch of the imagination. But I think like this is where he wants to be, and I think the Cavs kind of understood that and made a play. And we'll see where the chips lie for them. I just think that is where I leave the Larry of it all. And really cool run to have him back in Cleveland. Still have the video of him, coming into Atlanta to meet with the team for the first time, and how much you could tell it meant to him. And that all was really, really cool. And I think this is probably an experience to look back on and really remember. I think that the organization will miss him in a lot of different ways. I think the heart and soul talk has been a little like returning the exaggeration of it all, like up to like 25, and like really like gassing this up a little too much. But I we'll see where this goes, I think, is the best way to leave it. But Evan, we got to pay some bills.
Yeah, we do.
And you're up first with our friends at Sweatblock.
I sure am. And folks, you shouldn't be sweating this Larry Nance Jr. trade much longer. And in fact, you shouldn't be sweating in general, because there's so much more there's so many different things in life that are so much more fun to talk about. And one thing that isn't fun to talk about is excessive sweating. When you're sweating through your shirts for no reason, it's embarrassing, right? Some of you may know that I am French and Italian, and by nature, that makes me hairy and a coward, and also naturally sweaty because of both. When I speak in public, I can't help but sweat through my shirt, or when I'm on a podcast with Chris Manning. Now listen, I know this isn't life and death, but there are much worse problems in this world, and let's be honest, in the moment it feels like a big deal. Nobody likes to pit out during an important speech, interview, or first date, God forbid. I'd much rather not worry about it, and that's why you use Sweatblock antiperspirant wipes. Sweatblock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it before night, at bedtime, go to bed, and the next morning wake up, wash, and go about your day without worrying about the sweat. Guaranteed. I know this will sound too good to be true, but I literally only have to use Sweatblock once or twice a week, and it keeps me dry the whole time. No more pitting out, no more picking my shirts based on what will hide the sweat better. I can just live life and enjoy the vibes. If you or somebody you love is dealing with this, you have to check out Sweatblock. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com using promo code LOCKEDON, or at Amazon or CVS.
Let me also tell you about our friends at Indeed. When hiring gets hard, you need Indeed, the job site that makes hiring incredibly simple. Just attract, interview, and hire. In fact, with Indeed, you can do all your hiring in one place, and that includes interviewing. Do not just hope for your perfect candidates. Go out and find them. Indeed's hiring tools will help you cut through the noise to hire faster and smarter. In fact, Indeed Instant Match provides a list of quality candidates whose resumes are in Indeed the moment you post a sponsored job.
That's how Chris found me for Locked On Cavs and Fear the Sword.
Sure. With Indeed assessments, choose from 135 skills tests. I've actually had to take 250 skills tests, to be honest.
Pretty much. Also, like 3 harassing emails to say, like, yo, man, have you seen my last 2?
It is what it is. Not in a good place for me at that time. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all their job sites combined. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/locked. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/locked. Indeed.com/locked. Offer valid through September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, Evan, so let's talk about Kevin Love. His agent comes out, gives one quote to Woj that's like, hey, Kevin doesn't want to do a buyout.
Don't you love that Terry Pluto got Kevin Love's agent to contact Adrian Wojnarowski to squash this notion?
Well, yeah, so that's a good point that I didn't even think about. So Terry Pluto, the arguably the greatest of all time to ever do it in the Cleveland sports market, has in his scribbles over the weekend that they're progressing towards a buyout. Did throw a little cold water on it within context of it, but like the Bleacher Report, like push notification was Cavs working towards a buyout. Plain Dealer reported, even though Plain Dealer doesn't exist anymore. Whatever. Unfortunately, RIP to a legend, the Plain Dealer. But fast forward a day. Jeff Schwartz talks to Woj, says Kevin doesn't want to do a buyout. There's no interest. Woj also says no, the Cavs Kevin would prefer to be traded. He's open to that. Cavs have, quote, tried periodically to trade Kevin Love, but haven't found a deal they want to do.
Well, no dip.
And yeah, anyone in your I remember watching like the SportsCenter hit like 3 years ago now or 2 years ago where like Woj is like talking to someone on the ESPN set. And was like, yeah, the Cavs are exploring trading Kevin Love now. Like, they're ready to do that. And I was like, oh, yeah, no crap.
No dip. Yeah, it's been explored from the moment he came to Cleveland. It's just amplified now.
Well, and, like, specifically this version of it since, like, he signed that extension explicitly. And then here's where we are. But, Evan, all I got to say about this is, like, I think this is just about money.
Oh, yeah.
I think, like, if you look at this, no one in their right mind believes that the Cavs or Kevin Love really want to be in business together anymore. I don't think if you injected Kobe Altman's arm with true serum and were like, hey, what do you think about Kevin Love? What do you want him on the team? He'd probably tell you no. Kevin Love very clearly doesn't have interest in being a Cleveland Cavalier anymore. And like, I understand that. At the same time, he did $60.2 million, more money than I will likely make in my entire lifetime. And
well, no, the podcast makes that and like, dude, count your racks in your basement real quick because the podcast made that like yesterday.
I'm bad at math. Please subscribe to your YouTube channel so I can continue to afford nice things. But
he's getting a third yacht, folks, with diamond encrusted plating on the mast. He's getting a sail yacht to be specific. So like support Chris Manning here. Like help us.
I'm moving international waters to avoid taxes. Anyway.
Exactly.
Anyway. He is owed a bunch of money. He has no reason to like do the Cavs. I don't think they've really given him a reason to like for him to do them a solid to like give back some of the money. Like this breakup is not akin to like Kyle Lowry like leaving Toronto. This is much uglier. I think unfortunately for everyone involved. And here we are with like a month to go until training camp, like 6 weeks or so until the season starts. Kevin Love is the only member, not just from 2016, but from 2018, and that last title team now left on the roster. And Kevin
still weird to think.
Still bizarre to think that. And the Cavs just paid Larry Marketing a bunch of money to be a younger version of what Kevin Love probably is best used at this point in his career.
Yeah,
I think it just comes down to money.
Yeah, it really does come down to money. And I said this, Kevin Love is handsome. He's also handsomely paid. Like Chris said, he's making $60.2 million over the next 2 years. If you were in his shoes, and I certainly wouldn't, I can understand where Kevin's coming from with how much money the podcast makes us at this point. I wouldn't want to give up a cent to that. So that's why Chris is going to international waters, so we don't have to pay any taxes on it. But jumping back here, at the same time, it's a messy divorce. This has been happening for a while. The Cavs I really genuinely think in my heart of hearts when they signed him to this extension, they were hoping, okay, we maybe can compete for the playoffs. And then they pivoted a little bit because Kevin broke his foot and he was out for the majority of Collins' rookie season. And Corver was gone and George Hill was gone and J.R. Smith was in exile. Like there's so many key veterans that were kind of out other than Tristan Thompson. Dellavedova had just come back, if I remember correctly.
Came back during that season, yeah. And Kevin had been hurt since like immediately the beginning. He got hurt in preseason and yeah.
Yeah, and he's been on ice for a while. Like everything's completely changed by the time you come back. Like the complete perception of what this team is going to be has changed since you've been gone.
Since you've been gone.
I don't think Kevin has been able to breathe once this entire time.
There we go.
But
wow, you picked up what I was putting down. Never felt more in sync.
Because I just want it this way, Chris. That's all. But anyways, that's the Backstreet Boys. But Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if the Cavs could, like, from what I've gathered, the Cavs will buy Kevin Love tomorrow if he's willing to leave a certain amount of money on the table. But this is just going to be a dick measuring contest, pardon my French, for the next couple months, probably. I think Blake Griffin's buyout, Detroit's a good way to put it, because, like, I'm sure when Blake entered buyout talks with the Pistons, he said, I don't want to give up a cent. And the Pistons were like, okay, we don't have to pay you, but we also don't have to play you, I should say, but we also don't have any rush to get rid of you either, because it's just going to hurt us long term.
Yeah, well, we should go to our last break here, but notably, I just want to point out that before we go, I didn't even realize this when I wrote about Kevin over the weekend. We'll talk about kind of my thesis a little bit when we get past the break here, but notably, it's not the same agent, but
same agency,
Excel Sports.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as if it's this is a small little world here. There's a lot of overlap here, but Evan, we got to pay another bill.
Yeah, Chris, I don't know. How's the prototype Cybertruck that Elon gave you to congratulate us on becoming the first septillion podcast?
Took it to the moon. You have like 7 Teslas now, so
I do have 7 Teslas, and they're hard to keep up. But actually, it's not that bad anymore with our friends at Rock Auto, which is a sponsor of today's episode. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home or in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and their prices are reliably low and are for every customer. They have everything you need from brake parts, tail lamps, and even motor oil and new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find all the solution for your auto parts needs. So, go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On, and there, how did you hear about this box so that we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Check them out today at rockauto.com.
All right, Evan. So Blake Griffin and Kevin Love, similar situations. Kevin Love, and let's just say he does ultimately come to a buyout. The Griffin thing to me should set some kind of a template, because Blake Griffin, after he played 30 games for Detroit last year, which I would like to sort of understand, like, some of the behind the scenes stuff on the Detroit, and more than I think I understand them now.
But as you try to understand it as an aside, if Kevin is bought out, he's not going to have a resurgence like Blake Griffin did in Detroit. Kevin's leg is probably shot. It's a ticking time bomb, it feels like.
Yeah, we'll see. I would like to see what he would look. I would like to give him a chance where he's like a little more motivated, but like I think there's a lot of risk. I think there is obviously a lot of risk, and it's Blake was like trying on defense and stuff in a way. I don't know if Kevin like is gonna be able to flip that switch. So like when Blake Griffin gave back $13.3 million of the $75 he had left on his deal. That was a little bit under 18% of his contract that he had left. So if Kevin were to give back an even 18%, that's $10.8 million. Okay. Mm-hmm. That would take him down to like a little below, like 49 in like change. Like that is about where Kevin would be at if he did that. Like that's still a massive cap hit for the Cavs. I just think when it comes down to it for me, I do not believe that the Cavs have any leverage in this. Like, their only leverage is hoping that Kevin gets so miserable that he's just like, get me out of here, and I'll like give you like half of the money back.
Yep, that's pretty much their only play here, or that like, the Cavs really showed they don't need him, but they don't. They can't rely on him. But
no, the sides don't need each other. But I guess like the question I ultimately get to is like, does it benefit anyone to drag this out, where we all sort of feel like we know where it's headed anyway?
Dude, it's gonna be so uncomfortable, and if they do in-person media availability at Media Day.
Even if it is on Zoom, it is going to be kind of incredible, I think.
Oh, it's going to be super uncomfortable. And I have a zillion I already have a zillion questions. Like, 1, JB, are you going to play Larry at the 3? 2, Kobe, what's going on here? 3, Kevin, blink twice if you need out. And 4, what movies did you enjoy this summer? What did you think of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad? I thought it was delightful. No,
we haven't heard a peep from Kevin Instagram. I don't think Instagram anything since like he got hurt.
Oh, or since he got hurt. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'll pull up his
Since the end
Instagram
of
stuff.
USA, I mean, I think since
Oh
USA
yeah,
basketball,
since the end of USA basketball, and that was still a statement through his agent that he gave to, I believe, Woj, and then he released a statement through his agent through Team USA. But at the same time, like, yeah, if you're the Cavs, why would you want to be on the books for $60 million? You try and drag this out for hopefully as long as possible, but this could
I
get
just don't know
messy
like
real
what
fast too. Because
I just don't know
Kevin
what
is
the vibe.
known for
Yeah,
his public outbursts, and I think to myself, I'm like, we're getting primed for a nice, good old fashioned Kevin Love meltdown. It could be pretty early into the season, especially if he has to play like 15, 20 minutes a night. He completely phones it in, and the Cavs start like 1-6 or 0-7 on their opening stretch.
well, and
Like
it's got
it's
and if
the
that yeah,
perfect storm for some
well, and
drama.
if that happens, it's going to be like very apparent. Like it's just going to
Oh,
be so
for sure.
obvious. And then
It's
like
gonna be worse
then
than the Toronto out of bounds play.
well, and then at that point, it like even benefits I think Kevin more. Like for the Cavs to just be like, let's just get it done. Like I really just think like they just almost have to just like eat that and just like deal with it, and then like whatever comes of this, like they'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, do you think he'll be there? I do.
At the start of
At
the year,
training
yeah,
camp. Yeah, training
yeah,
camp, I think
I
Kevin
do.
Love will be there. Much like I think Ben Simmons is going to be a 76er, but people will be more obsessed about that. And then Cavs fans will be bent out of shape about Kevin Love still being here.
Yeah, I tend to just think that we are just headed towards something continually uncomfortable, and like
Do you think he
this
writes
just
a letter through the plain dealer as well saying, listen, Cleveland fans, I love my time
no,
here. I love a
you're
championship,
it's
but this was a
play
collaborative effort to get me out of here.
player. It's going to be like a long players tribute essay.
Probably thoughtful and well spoken, but the fans that really are obsessed with Kevin Love getting out of here are kind of man babies sometimes. So I don't
I
know,
just,
man. The Cavs need to move
I
on.
it
I've
it
been
has
saying this for a
been,
while.
yeah. I think the vibe is just bad, and I
And
just don't know what that like. The
also
money's
clear they
like, here's
moved
the
on
thing.
because they
Here's the
got
thing.
Mobley
Here's
and
the thing.
Markkinen. You go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, when you paid Larry Markkinen $67 million, even if there's $6 million, that's not flagrant. Only last year, whatever. The money is already burned. Like the Kevin Love, you're not getting so much of the Kevin Love money back that it's really going to help you the next. Like you really
Nope.
almost just need to like eat the money the next 2 years and just like pretend you're like poor for 2 years and just like deal with it. Like you kind of just
Yep.
have to. And you shouldn't stretch it. You shouldn't do any of that.
Oh, you changed your stance. Then no more
Yeah.
stretching.
No, because like if you start stretching like all this money, even if it's like via
But
buyout,
Chris,
you're gonna like
think of
slowly end
what
them.
young player the Cavs could pay for next. So there's one less adult that they can have in the room.
I just take the L. You've already lost. Like just break up now. You already have another player who like was on your title team who doesn't seem to really like you anymore, which is bad. Just take the L, and like everyone will be happier for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just a shame that the core six is going to be implicated like this. They don't deserve to be caught up in this drama. And also, poor Evan Mobley, he could be walking into stepping on a landmine right now, going into this Cavs season. Like this is going to be a trial by fire, like Isaac Okoro had. Because one, he has to defend like Jokic and AD to start the season, and two, he has to deal with the off the court. Oh, who's going to defend Dwight? Do you want to put Dwight Howard / Marc Gasol on Evan Mobley?
Dude, this is too far away for me to think about. You're asking me to conceptualize.
I think I'm light years ahead as the Warriors are. So
okay, Joe Lacob. Evan, let me just ask you this: do you feel like the based on like being online over the weekend and stuff, do you feel like the tenor of like people's hopes for the Cavs next season has changed based on like the last like 3 days? Because it feels like it got a little
freaking weird. People think they're like a play-in / playoff team with Markkinen in the fold. I'm like,
oh, see, I felt
they addressed
like
one need.
I felt like everyone like turned into like a Zack Snyder movie the last couple of days. Just really bleak, needlessly violent.
No, it went from a Zack Snyder movie to
the Snyder
a Marvel
Cut
movie. No, just a Marvel movie in general because where everything is. It's not Infinity War because Infinity War showed that they could do dark and gritty better than DC could. But
I wouldn't call it Infinity. Okay, we're not talking about that.
Dark.
I don't know if I call that dark and gritty. I don't know if I call that gritty.
It's dark. You literally watch Tom Holland turn into Ash, and he says, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. I don't want to go." Like, that's pretty sad and dark. It had its shock appeal and value, but I think a lot of it changed when Larry Nance penned that letter, because a lot of people were like, "Holy crap, the Cavs just traded Larry Nance," and then it changed to, "Holy crap, Larry Nance didn't even want to be here. F that guy. We got Lauri Markkanen now. We're in the play-in, baby." Because Colin Sexton, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Isaac Okoro, Darius Garland, and Lauri Markkanen, and Ricky Rubio, and Kevin Love are what you need to make the play-in.
Ricky
playoffs.
Would love to know what Ricky Rubio's brain is going through right now, as like the only old guy in an organization he has no longer.
I was on the Phoenix Suns 2 years ago, and they just made the NBA Finals.
At least in Minnesota, right, I have like a real history with the organization.
Yep, he's got a history with Kevin, so that's fun for a bit.
Oh, for like a week.
I'm honestly surprised the Cavs haven't tried to force that down our throats yet, that Ricky and Kevin used to play together.
Dude, it just give everything time. We got a long ways to go for the narratives to
it's a long 82-game season, but
got a lot of Cavs max to get to at some point.
Yeah.
Did you understand what I was trying to say there?
You cut out a little bit. Did you say Cavs madness?
I said Cavs max.
No, didn't get that. Like Mad
okay,
Max?
No, like Newsmax.
Oh. Ha ha ha. Okay, now I got it.
Yeah, okay.
That was a genuine that was a genuine laugh on my part. Good job. So let's put a pin in this conversation. If you're listening at home, let us know on Twitter how you feel about the Larry Nance trade. Let us know how you feel about Kevin Love not going anywhere. Would you tweet a Wolf of Wall Street clip of Leonardo DiCaprio saying, "I'm not going anywhere"? And if you were Kevin Love, I would. It'd be funny because in some of your eyes, he's stealing money from people. He's stealing money from the Cavs, so it all works out.
Yeah, but again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We just re-hit 100 after the fiasco of having to restart the Please, let's get to 150 next. It would be the best way you can support the show right now is, even if you're not like a regular YouTube watcher, or like you're occasional, go on YouTube, subscribe to Locked On Cavs, help us cook those books. We know we have a ton of listeners that, if every single one of you Locked On Cavs listeners that we have daily, that we know that we have daily based on the numbers we see, we could smash the goal that we eventually want to get to in a day. If all of you just went right now and subscribe to our YouTube channel, it would be a big, big help. And just thanks again for considering doing that. For myself, for Evan, this has been Locked On Cavs for Monday, August 30th. We'll be back with more later this week. Things we're going to talk about include Lauri Markkanen and then getting a scouting report on him. We're going to do another YouTube Live AMA question and answer session that we'll tweet out and announce maybe on Evan's Twitter, because our account is still suspended for reasons that I don't quite understand.
Cavs, check.
That's right.
We're in the exclusive Cleveland Verified Media Club, where we decide how much money Colin Sexton makes, decide our fate, and unsuspend the podcast account.
Yeah, and we're going to go into the depth chart and build out a mock rotation without a month to go to training camp, and just kind of suss out what the team sort of actually looks like from a roster standpoint now that they've made what is likely their biggest move of the offseason. But until tomorrow, it's been Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris. He's Evan. Have a good one.